Salutations Rangers, Gerald Bradley 101 back again with some more lore, and in today's video, boys and gals, we have a very interesting video, and that I'm super hyped for, like really uber hyped. And depending on how well this video might do, this may be part 1 of, who knows, maybe a whole series, because today, we're talking specifically about the Sanguinor, but more specifically, what exactly is the Sanguinor, what does the Sanguinor represent, and the whole underlying big malarkey that's going on between Sanguinius' bloodline and this secret civil war that's happening for the soul of the Blood Angel lineage. I'm not even kidding with that one. So yeah, lots of big things today. So strap it in, buckle up, grab your favorite red thing, and let's get crack-a-lackin' on with today's video. So basically, the majority of today's information comes from one book in particular, that being Mephiston Darkness in Blood. So basically what happens, this is when Mephiston becomes the first ever Blood Angel to undergo the Rubicon Primarchs. This is done ostensibly to show the Blood Angels that, hey, it's alright, we may like blood, but call factor that in. It's basically like, I'm gonna be the first one into this so that y'all have no other excuse. Right? So, he goes in, everything is fine, but then they implant the Maleficent organ. And when that happens, bro kind of goes into cardiac shock because both his hearts stop beating. And at that point, he then gets transcended into this weird warp realm. And it's at this point that he sees two giant angels having a titanic clash with each other, blade against blade. One, a gold angel of heaven, pure, pristine, glistening, absolutely perfect. And the other, he sees an angel clad in the blackest of sable, nightmarish, demonic, terrible, ravenous, blood dripping from its marred fangs. And those two are going at it like two fat kids over a hot dog. Seriously, it's left and right, left and right, left and right, and it's madness. However, Mephiston then notices that there's actually a chap in the middle. There's actually a throne. And in that throne is a space marine. Except he's kind of like the Kool-Aid man, in which he's just all blood. Oops, all blood. Mephiston then walks up to this chap, and he begins talking. He's like, hey, what the hell is going on here? This chap, known as the Red Angel, simply begins explaining that this is the war of the Blood Angel's soul made manifest. He then explains that the golden one is representative of the nobility and the angelic aspect of the Blood Angels. The black represents its evil as well as its savagery and the black rage. Now you see, initially it was pretty balanced, with the gold guy winning ever so slightly, and that's because of the Sanguinor. The Sanguinor is the avatar of the Golden Angel. However, with the advent of the Great Rift, and with so much things going to shit, the Black Rage actually got a bonus in on it. And Mephiston himself can see this too, because it turns out that the Black Angel is actually winning. So Mephiston then asks this Red Angel, it's like, hey, what do we do? Like, you know, what's the course? How do I fix this? How do I help? And the Red Angel reveals that he needs to then become the avatar of the Black Angel. But whereas the Sanguinor is the avatar of the Gold Angel and carries out his will, Mephiston needs to become the avatar of the Black Angel and oppose his will. I.e., he needs to take his power and control it within him. However, if he fails to control it, well, he's going to become the avatar of the Black Angel, which means that the Black Rage is definitely going to win. And over the course of all this, Mephiston ends up asking this Red Angel, you know, who the hell are you? How do you know all this? And it's at that point that the two angels stop fighting. They slowly begin to recede, and eventually, they are completely gone. And what's left is the Red Angel, twice as big as both of them combined, and it reveals himself as Sanguinius, but not really. It looks like Sanguinius, and Mephiston even says, my father, forgive me. And the chap simply says, I am not Sanguinius. Sanguinius died. And that's kind of the majority of the book here and there. So generally speaking, well-received book, go take a look at it, but for some reason, no one talked about it. This book kind of went under the radar. I don't know if it was because of all the Primarchs or whatever, but this book reveals so much about not only the Blood Angels, Sanguinius, but also the Primarchs as a whole. Because you may be thinking, oh, the Blood Angels, Black Rage, and the nobility became psychic aspects in the war. Neat. Wrong. Definitely wrong. Because it turns out, those two deities, the Angels of Black and of Gold, are older than humanity combined. They're said to be just as old and as primordial as the war in heaven. And here's when we get to the juicy meat of it, baby. It turns out that these two deities, the Angel of Black and the Angel of Gold, have been fighting each other since eternity began. They represent the nobility and the savagery that lies within any given species. The Blood Angels are just the latest to inherit this battle. Again, that's not me saying it, that's quoted directly in the book. Because when Mephiston is talking to the Angel of Blood, we see that there is a little spindly alien creature who is trying to rebuild Shattered Bloodstone. And it turns out that that chap's race inherited the legacy of the Angels. Meaning that chap's race had the Black Rage, but also had the nobility of the Angel. And they also fell to the Red Thirst and the Black Rage. That happened multiple times before. The Blood Angels are just the recent recipient of it, which is a wild thing in of itself. But that begs the question then, if the Blood Angels are just the most recent recipient of it, how exactly did they get it? Well, think about it. The Black Rage is inherited from their father. The Red Thirst is inherited from their father being Sanguinius. So, the Blood Angels got it from Sanguinius. But then that begs the question, how did Sanguinius get it? Well, he's related to those two gods. But more specifically, this book indirectly confirms a theory that had been long since speculated by many a fan. For those of you who don't know, Big E yoinked something from the Chaos Gods to help make his Primarchs. He struck a deal with them and he broke that deal. Now for the longest time, we had no idea what that deal was. Not even a single little hint of a clue. Nothing at all. All we knew, it had something to do with the warp. But here, it kinda confirms what that may have been. It is believed that what Big E stole were gods of the warp, or lesser beings, princes exactly. Because most people think that the warp is just chaos. That is objectively incorrect. The majority of the warp is chaotic, but there are still pockets of space that are still relatively stable and safe. And again, the four big chaos gods are the big kahunas of the warp, but they're not the only ones in the warp. It is believed that Big E took specific god entities, demigods, entities of the warp, specific creatures. He took their power, or literally took them, in Sanguinius' case, and imbued them in his Primarchs. Because remember, whereas Space Marines and even the Custodes were once mortal men who were taken, manipulated, and changed into what they are now, the Primarchs are something wholly different. The Primarchs were genetically engineered from the get-go to be something better than humanity. The Emperor himself even quotes this when he is making a weapon for Russ. He says that there are no gods in this world. There are no gods in this timeline, but there shall be. Therefore, Biggie himself, Mr. Fedora Tip and Keyboard Relative Marin Man himself is saying, there will be gods. Now, at the time, most people thought, oh, he's just jerking himself off his demigod sons, right? But what if that's not the case? What if Biggie was being serious? What if each and every Primarch is indeed an aspect of a human god, or a warp entity that has been infused into this Primarch? Because think about it, every single Primarch has some type of power. He has something that makes him different. And we know for a fact that with the conclusion of the Horus Heresy, every single Primarch is hilariously psychic, or has something incredibly potent to do with the psychic or the warp in of itself. I mean, the most obvious examples are of course Magnus as well as Sanguinius, who were alpha level psychics in of themselves. But you think about the other powers that other Primarchs have. Vulcan, for example, is a perpetual. We know that perpetuality is indeed tied to the warp, a la Big E as well as the other perpetuals. Corvus Corax has his Wraith Slip ability. He is able to literally go to another dimension or become invisible. Again, related to the warp. You take a look at the Lion. His innate ability is that he is a pseudo-blank. He is able to inherently resist the warp and to pass away from it, not to mention, he is connected to the forest, which is indeed a blank dimension, the opposite of the warp, but still connected to it. Every single Primarch possesses some type of power that is uniquely based off some type of thing. Think about it. Every single Primarch resembles a type of human religion or culture. Sanguinius is supposed to represent the nobility of humanity. Of course, you have Leman Russ the Viking, you have Bobby G the Roman. But think about it. Normally, we as people, we just think, oh, GW wanted Roman, they wanted Vikings, they wanted Knights, alright? Fair enough. We didn't really think too much about it. But what if with this, Bobby G is based off the human gods that the Romans created in the warp? What if Russ is built off of the Wolfen Viking gods that we created in the warp? But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is a Blood News video that's going to be saved for another video, but that's just a little taster. So we know that Sanguinius, when he was created, the power of these two ball-light gods, these two primordial warp beings, were taken and placed in him. Sanguinius was the avatar for both beings. He had both the golden as well as the dark angel within him. That is what he had. And that's the reason why it was relatively stable during the heresy. Because think about it. When Sanguinius is said to have died, there is said to be a massive psychic backlash that corrupted his legion, that unleashed the Black Rage. Think about that. When the Avatar, the container of the gold and the black angels, when he died, the Black Angel was set free. and thus he was able to enact his claim upon all the lineage of those who bore his blood, i.e. the Blood Angels. So when Sanguinius died, the Black Angel was let free. So then did he activate his Black Rage amongst the sons of Sanguinius and seek to claim it wholly. Why? Because his container was gone. The chap keeping him in check was no more. Therefore, free reign, let's go and get what's mine. We know that for a fact. Sanguinius is one of the most psychically gifted and psychically powerful Primarchs, period. We know that for a fact. Sanguinius was the container for these two godlike entities. Big E made a deal with Chaos. The deal, for whatever reason, gave him these two entities, or gave him the power, or gave him the ability to hold and contain these two entities within Sanguinius. Sanguinius then dies, and then the war's back on. But then let's talk about Sanguinius. When Mephiston is speaking to the Red Angel, he looks just like Sanguinius, but he says, I am not Sanguinius, I am the Red Angel. And let's think about that real quick. When the Black Angel and the Golden Angel received, all that's left is the titanic Red Angel in the form of Sanguinius. So, as we know, Sanguinius was the container, supposedly, for them. Or was he? We know that the Gold Angel and the Black Angel have been warring against each other for forever. But were they always warring against each other? They've been doing it for a long time. But what if the whole war thing is, relatively speaking, a recent development? What if these two split off from an initial god? As we know in Warhammer 40k, it is not uncommon for warp entities to split between one another. We have several examples of a warp entity being a whole entity and then being split. A perfect example is that we have the Eldari gods. Cain in particular was shattered into shards. Magnus, a very strong warp entity, was shattered into shards. We know that if there is a severe amount of disturbance, be it physical or mental or emotional, a warp entity may be turned into multiple parts. And I don't know about you, but I can't really think of anything too disturbing than having an internal civil war. What if, originally, there was one warp god, the Red Angel? The Red Angel was an angel. He was a manifestation of both the gold and the black, the angel and the demon, the good and the evil. However, the internal conflict within him became so much that he split. The red became black and gold, and forever the two sides fought with each other, each side claiming a race generation after generation, hoping that one of them could indeed choose a side. But eventually they would die out, and it would be reset. Big E saw this. He knew that having a Red Angel, such a powerful and potent warp entity, would not only benefit him, but the Imperium of man. So what did he do? He recreated the Red Angel. He recreated that angelic god in the form of Sanguinius. Basically, what Big E did, he created a body of flesh for the god to inhabit. Thus did he combine the Black Angel and the Gold Angel together and have them war within his son. Thus Sanguinius would hold them in check and ultimately decide which angel would come on top. Hence why Sanguinius was basically one of, if not the most powerful Primarchs, period. And things though, he's not just powerful in one aspect. Psychically, physically, emotionally, leadership-wise, he is nearly the perfect Primarch in every single aspect. In fact, the only thing stopping him from being the perfect Primarch are his bouts of self-doubt, which are caused by the Red Thirst and the Black Rage. Not to mention, it makes sense that the Black Rage would only come out when Sanguinius would have died. Because if Sanguinius is the Red Angel reborn, he is holding both the Gold and the Black Angel together, meaning that the Black Angel cannot unleash his Black Rage. He can, however, insert influence via the Red Thirst. And to this point, we know that the only angel to ever experience the Black Rage before Sanguinius' death was actually Sanguinius himself, which makes sense because only he would be able to experience it because the Black Angel was only in him. But the moment Sanguinius died, that Black Angel was unleashed to all of those with his bloodline. Hence why every single son of Sanguinius got the Black Rage. And it's very interesting that we see that even though the Red Angel tells Mephiston, I am not Sanguinius, Sanguinius is dead, we know for a fact Sanguinius' soul still exists. So whereas he physically may have forgotten who he is, it's possible that this is indeed Sanguinius or a fragment of his soul, part of his soul that is connected to the Red Angel. Because when Big E did the fusion and whatnot, a part of Sanguinius was connected to that utterly. Or, we go even further here, we could say that Sanguinius was not connected to the Red Angel, But Sanguinius was part of the Red Angel itself. Big E knew that the Red Angel existed. The Red Angel was Sanguinius, so he just recreated the Red Angel in that form. And now we get to a point where it's not the Red Angel who looks like Sanguinius, but it was Sanguinius who was meant to look like the Red Angel. But the fact of the matter is, as it stands now, with Sanguinius being gone, with an avatar being gone for over 10,000 years, the Black and the Gold Angel have been warring at each other for forever. Because of this, and with the recent introduction of the Great Rift, the Black Angel is starting to winning. Now, all of a sudden, Mephiston now needs to become the avatar of the Black Angel, but to hold him in check. And if Mephiston should ever lose control, well, the Blood Angels are certainly damned. But that begs the question, why isn't there one whole avatar like Sanguinius again? And that's because, quite simply, Sanguinius was made by the Emperor with the stolen power of chaos. No one but the Emperor had access to it, and we don't know if it was a finite supply or it was something that he could call upon again. But regardless, it's done. A Primarch cannot be created again. And even if the Primarch could, Sanguinius the Primarch could not be created again. The reborn avatar of the Red Angel, the Angel Reborn, cannot be made again. He was shattered by the Champion of Chaos. And so too was the bloodline of the Angel thrown into chaos and warfare yet again. And now it is up to the descendants of the Angel to decide who shall come on top, the Gold Angel or the Black Angel. And this is something that is very unique with the Blood Angels. A big point of the Blood Angels is to stave off the curse. It's the idea that, hey, we have a choice. Their whole idea is that, are we damned? How do we fix it? It's about prophecy. That's a whole big thing. There is a prophecy that either they shall be gold or they shall be black. They shall be covered in white or covered in blood. And this is the prophecy made manifest. But that's the thing though. The prophecy had always existed. It had existed ever since the Red Angel was split into the gold and the black. But Big E tried to change that. He tried to change the prophecy to end it. There would be one Red Angel, one angel clad in crimson. That was Sanguinius. But Sanguinius fell. And since he fell, the prophecy continues. So that begs the question, did Big E ever do anything? Or was it always just part of the prophecy for the Red Angel? Again, this basically confirms what so many fans have been speculating for forever. We now know for a fact the core aspect of the Blood Angels and what exactly is going on with the Sanguine War and with Sanguinius and the Warp. There is an evil aspect and a gold aspect. Both of them are fighting each other, but they're not good and bad versions of Sanguinius. They're good and bad versions of the ancient Red Angel, who Sanguinius was based off of. Now, not only does this confirm, something for Blood Angels fans, and I am so surprised that no one was talking about this book when it came out. I didn't even know about this book until I looked it up. I didn't realize anything about it. Why is no one talking about this? Why is no one covering this? Why is no one going about this? Maybe they just don't care about it as much as I do. I don't know, I'm kind of weird, fam, I'll give you that. But still, this means that we know for a fact that Sanguinius, a Primarch, got his powers from a warp entity, an old warp entity, that being the Red Angel. Meaning that every other Primarch as well has their powers from a warp entity. Which is just wild. The Primarchs were indeed humanity's new gods. That sheer concept opens up so much for the Warhammer 40k space. It changes so much, meaning that there are several warp entities like the Red Angel that exist, and each one of them is tied to a Primarch. That just opens a whole can of, oh my god, like that sheer idea of it is wild, is beyond wild. Like, what exactly are these different entities? Are they all human entities? Can there be some elder entities? Can there be some other elder entities? What about the two lost Primarchs? Were they consumed by their god entities? Was that why they would change? Like, what does all this mean? Either way, we have now indeed confirmed what the Blood Angel's future is, what it means, and we're going to see exactly whether or not Mephiston is going to indeed become this Black Angel, whether or not he'll be able to control it, and what exactly was going to happen with the Sanguine War and everything in between. But more specifically, we know what this means for the other Primarchs, meaning that both Bobby G and Lionel Johnson are indeed connected to some type of warp entity. But that's going to be for part 2 of this video. Well, not really part 2, it's more of a companion piece because I'm just going to keep on waffling on because this is wild. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys think. Did you guys read this book? Were you known about it? What do you guys feel about it? How exactly do you guys interpret this? And what warp entities do you think the others are connected to? Personally, I think that maybe Vulcan might be connected to Vaughn, that being the outlaw god of smithing, because you know, smithing, they're both nice guys, big, chunky as well. But let me know what you guys think down below. But I want to say massive thank you to you guys for watching, and even more massive thank you to my awesome members and patrons. And massive shout out to my Officer Corps, my Lieutenant Tiers. Shout out Mr. Eddie V3 and Miss Major of the Void. Big shout out to all my Sergeant Tier fellas. Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Warsmith the Fireheart, Mr. Cords Butcher, and Mr. Sean IRL7. Shout out to my corporate tier members, Mr. Bowen and Tremail the Math Kitty. And finally, but certainly not least, big shout out to my private tier members, Mr. Thomas Moslons, Mr. Ivan_SBW, Mr. Michael Hayeda, Mr. Hattori's Kurs, and of course, Mr. Monkey Man. And very big shout out to my Patreon members, Mr. Fortus Unum, General Alexander, and Mr. Bulwin. Thank you, each and every one of you, from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me that you guys do this, and god damn it, do I just love you for it. So if you want to join these awesome people and gain access to a whole bunch of awesome benefits, behind the scenes stuff, early access to this video, there's a lot of big things happening in this channel this year, so if you guys sign up, you're going to get first access to it, and you will gain my love and affection. Yes, you will. But remember, this will always be free, and I will love you whether you give me $1 or not. Mwah! Yes, I will. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Thank you all so very much for watching. Make sure you stay honorable out there, boys and girls. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers! So we know that the four big, right, Fulgrim, Angron, Magnus, Mortarion, right, they all had their own warp entity gods, right, but now they're actually the warp entity spawn avatars of the Chaos gods. So what happened to the four gods whose avatars they were before they became Chaos?